Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, and happy Sunday. And today we're going to be talking about bottlenecks because I've been doing a lot of character upgrades recently, and it's come to my attention, and maybe other people have hit this before I did, and maybe this isn't really news as such to some people, but especially when I started upgrading a lot of characters to finish off a big apocalypse, which, by the way, I'm just around the corner. So hopefully with the payout from the Asgard, the Photon character release event, I might be getting pretty close. But as I started upgrading characters, I realized that I was having alternative bottlenecks that I never knew I had. And maybe it's because I don't normally teal upgrade characters as frequently as some people do, but as I started doing gear tier 17, and we're not even talking about 18 yet, but we will be in this video a little bit as well, about how badly I actually need to start paying attention to certain gear pieces. And so I'm kind of bringing this all to your guys' attention so that when you think about this, that maybe you start buying some things in the supply store, for example, or, change the behaviors of what you're buying in there, because I am starting to do that myself. So I wanted to share this with you. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. And I'll be honest, a lot of this happened when I started thinking more about Apocalypse. So this is where we're going to start. I can't upgrade Apocalypse to gear tier 18. And it's not because, well, actually it's partially because of the minis, but it's actually not. I upgraded, obviously, Unlimited X-Men and Death Seed to gear tier 17, so that's all done now. I have all the costumes, by the way. And it made me really short, and I don't know why necessarily, maybe bad luck, short on Origin gear. And this might not look like, it's short, that's pretty short. And I don't know why, it's gotten so bad lately, but one gear tier 18 piece for Apocalypse takes, if my math's right, 90 of these cytoplasms, and then 72 or so of these, right? So it starts stacking up really quickly. Needless to say, I don't have enough. Whatever the number I just said, which 90 of these, I need this 5 times. Actually, so yeah, I need that 5 times because obviously Apocalypse is very expensive to gear. So I need this 90 times 5, so 450. Plus I need enough for the unique, which is 75. So whatever I said, did I say 450? So 525. So I'm missing about 240 cytoplasms. No, I'm not sure if I have enough on the other ones, to be honest, but I've been specifically farming the cytoplasms. It's actually kind of sad. And I don't know if you guys are doing this at all yourself, but this new Nexus mode, I'm going to do this, and I do farm this specific one because the drops are ×3, and they're not actually that bad. So in the grand scheme of things, 9's not a lot, but it's more than I was getting before because I wasn't actually actively farming it. And now that I blew all of my resources to get 17 for, especially Unlimited X-Men and Destiny, so that's 2 full teams I had to gear tier 17, so I lost a lot of my Origin gear. But then I started thinking about, man, I've opened all of my Teal gear raid orbs. I've basically opened everything that I can in order to get these, and I'm still short. And so I'm actually more short on these things than I am the rest of the things. Now, I'm pretty close. I need, what is it, 120? 110? Sorry, of both of these to get them done. So I'm not quite there yet, but it doesn't really matter because I wouldn't be able to do it anyways. I'm like one equipment piece short, basically, but I don't have the Origin gear pieces to finish that off. And so that's a big problem. So that's really what made me think about what I'm doing in my supply store and how I can do things a little bit better. Now, luckily for me, things have changed a little bit in terms of what we can get now in the store. Specifically, I'm probably not going to talk about the TVA gift shop too much in here. I am buying G17 minis. I never really talked about what I was buying in here, and I do buy the character shards. I actually end up having more. Make sure you're spending these because this only resets like once a day, I think, and maybe twice a day. I'm not sure, but I don't actually get the opportunity to spend too much in here. So I may buy Origin gear pieces for mutants specifically, because that seems to be what I'm really short on, and I think I'm going to be coming up short on Mystic because I spent a lot of resources upgrading my Bifrost team to about gear tier, some of them to gear tier 17, and I think that Mystic is still going to be a little bit of a gear crunch as well. So let me know if you're having any Mystic gear crunches. Probably people are going to, and the funny thing is that I talked about the mutant crunch. I'm not even going to have resources to upgrade Miss Marvel. the new Hardlight Miss Marvel MCU, because she's mutant now, and Apocalypse is a priority for me still, I think, for Dark Dimension 6, and it leaves me with nothing, basically, for Miss Marvel. So I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that. In terms of my main supply store, I'm solely focusing on Gear Tier 18 minis and the occasional uniques that I need for specific characters. If they're not needed for any of my main characters, I don't buy it. I think the prices are too high for regular Teal Origin gear pieces. That's like 45k a piece. Not willing to do that. That's a lot, and I don't think that you should probably be spending on that. So those are the only two things that I'm buying out of the supply store specifically, and that is assuming that you're in the Gear Tier 16 plus range. If you're not, you're probably having a different experience than I am, and even with all the event milestones and things, I'm just not picking up enough gear. It seems for certain origins that are very saturated of characters that require a lot of pieces. For the Blitz store, they did add this, but I haven't come to a point yet where Teal ABCs have become a problem. Maybe there will come a time. Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to know from any of you if you've had a Teal ABC crunch. There was a time where there was a crunch on orange BCs, believe it or not. Maybe not even like a year ago. And this never, and I was kind of buying them with different things, but this is recently added for Blitz credits. I'm not doing this personally myself. It's a lot. I wouldn't be able to buy too many of these anyways before I cashed out of my Blitz credits. I don't Blitz tons outside of events. Anyways, Raid, this is what I really, really want to talk about, because I started buying this, and you may have seen this because I use this in my thumbnail, it's 14k for 10, but I have an insane amount of raid credits. So I think that you're going to get a lot of value out of this. There's probably a lot of other people in the same boat that I'm at, especially if you're a late game player, that you're going to have a lot of raid credits, because even when they add new characters in, like US Agent, who I maxed out because I bought out all the raid orbs, and then I still have more, I was able to max them out at 7-star, and that, I still had left a crap ton of leftover raid credit. So, most late game players, I would say, is probably in a similar position that I am. So I'm not going to buy any Teal ABCs. I don't know if I'm at the stage where I need to start thinking about Catalyst at this point. I know that Orange Catalyst was an issue, so I'm wondering whether or not this is going to creep up. I think a Tier 18 piece is 250. So this could actually, you know what? I might. Now, whether or not I'm going to be focusing on certain Catalysts probably, and mutant origin gear pieces. There's some, depending on the saturation of characters, like right now I'm not having a huge issue with bio, tech, or skill, but it is mutant and mystic probably after I finish up with Bifrost, where things are going to get to be a crunch. And I'm just not getting enough when it comes to other sources, which would be, in the orbs, right? We have the Teal gear raid orb, which we get, and I don't know if the elite, I don't think it might contain some pieces. I don't know if regular pieces does it. It does, a little bit, a tiny bit. Like, you get some of these origin pieces, but it's kind of rare. So it's mostly coming from the other one, and you're not getting it from the Teal Epic Orb. It's mostly this one, which we do get a fair bit of, but I feel that the degree that you need the Teal gear pieces from, Gear 17 especially, but Gear 18 just pushes it even higher, how many of these that you need. That is just absolute insanity. Arena Store, unfortunately, there's nothing much more I can do with my credits there. I do have a lot of these. Even when new characters come in, I usually am able to get them to at least 6-star. I didn't bother to 7-star Deathlock because I just didn't want to blow all my, I don't know, maybe I was going to wait. And for War, now this is another thing. So with War credits, it's just not a very good value. Actually, most of the time you don't even see, it's mostly just uniques. And I don't know if you can get other things in here. It's mostly uniques. I do buy uniques actually in here a lot, especially the ones that I'm looking for. That's what I save my War credits for. The War Orb, the Teal Gear War Orb, honestly came so late and it's so garbage. I'm just going to open 10 just for the hell of it. But there's some catalysts, but even, so I guess there's some catalysts in here, but other than that, you get like 6, like it's like nothing, and I just opened 10 of those. I can't even keep doing that too many times, and so the amount of stuff that you get out of this Teal Gear Orb, this is garbage. It's so garbage. This needs a Teal Gear War Orb 2 with some better stuff in it, or I don't know, give me an orb that's specific to Origin Gear, that would be great. We're going to get to where I think that they should be adding this stuff a little bit more. Now, we have the Teal Gear Crucible Orb and the store. Obviously, I'm buying Nemesis in here right now, and I am buying Gear 17 minis on mutant pieces to restock up, because eventually, at one point, I'm going to need to upgrade Miss Marvel, Hardlight was also a mutant if I can ever one day get enough of the mutant origin pieces, but that's a conversation for another day. We need to do Apocalypse first. And as far as the actual origin pieces go, 10 for 1450, honestly, it could be worse. It's not terrible. But, now that I've kind of broken through the tier 17 of what I needed to upgrade for Big Apocalypse, I may start doing this in a specific spending way. I don't know. Like, do you guys all have stocked up Crucible credits like I do? Maybe I'm a bit of a hoarder, and maybe I should have been spending here all along. But specifically, I'm going to focus on mutant gear pieces that I need here, and then usually I focus on 17s, G17s. Though, sometimes I do pick up uniques as well, because you can find regular uniques in here, I think in this slot. And so if it's one specific one that I'm looking for, there's a couple, but there's not many that I'm actively needing to buy right now. But if they do show up in here, then I spend for $23.50 for one, which is a lot if you consider that you're getting like 15 of these maybe for one unique. So yeah, I guess maybe I need to utilize my Crucible credits a little bit better. Maybe I need to start buying up this more. But honestly, I lost my origin pieces so fast. Like after upgrading both teams to G17, it's a good thing I had enough. But honestly, I was pretty broke after that, and I didn't think that was going to happen. Now, we can open like 10 of these Teal Crucible orbs just for shits and giggles. They're okay. You get some decent array of uniques, and there's G16 minis in here, but there's no G17s. There's some catalysts. You do get like 120 TLBCs there from 10. It wasn't too bad. And maybe drops of 20 of the other catalysts, which wasn't terrible. There's some origin gear pieces actually in here. So it's not the worst orb. And maybe I should be... I'm reluctant to spam open these though, because A, you never know when something's going to be added into the game. And B, I am still using some of it for Nemesis, so I do like to keep a little bit of a nest egg on that, if at all possible. Now, this kind of brings me to the one store. Actually, no, there's two more stores left, and this is actually a pretty big one too. So, ISO 8. When I started doing the Blue 5 Apocalypse climb, I used a lot of my regular orbs. Believe it or not, despite having 744 of these left from the raids, I actually had about 2,000. So I opened across my various characters, across the various classes and roles, about 1,200 of these orbs to get enough of the crystals to upgrade all the characters that I needed to Blue 5. What does this mean? It could mean that if we start getting more Blue 5 ions specifically, because I have a lot of Blue 4 ions, but if we start getting more Blue 5 ions and we pass the mark of Big Apocalypse for those of us who do, and then we start actually upgrading Blue 5s more regularly for, regular characters, who knows, right? That might be actually a thing that we might need to start thinking about what you're buying in the supply store. Green ions or green crystals, sometimes is a bit of a thing. For me, it's mostly controller characters. I find, for whatever reason, there's a lot of controller characters that I upgrade, and so that's where my green shortage normally lands. But for blues, if I'm like under a certain amount, like, I don't know, 200 of them maybe, I'm going to buy them because I have 43 million blue ions, and this is something that I wasn't really doing before because I didn't think I needed to do this. Honestly, I have 100 of these. How many do you don't get much from this actually? 300,000 ions. But anyways, so I have a lot of blue ions, and I just didn't realize that, yeah, when you start upgrading, especially to Blue 4 and Blue 5, you're blowing a lot of these raid orbs that you get from this, and I didn't really realize that. Now, that brings me to one thing that I want to talk about really quickly about that too, is the drop rates in the hard mode difficulty is so bad. It was actually so bad that I didn't even bother to clear the rest of the chapters because the drop rates were horrific. I was spending 120 energy and getting like 1 or 2 crystals. I was like, this is garbage. I went back to farming for the most, because it's the same gold. I went back to farming the green ISOs because it was the same gold and I still needed controller ISOs. So that's what I ended up doing. They need to improve the drop rate on that and make things a little bit better for people to want, one day I'm going to go finish that campaign just because I've been really lazy lately. But I am buying, you're going to get them faster buying them in this store here than you will be farming them on the node. I guarantee you that. But otherwise, yeah, the blue ions, you're mostly getting this in the raids. Sorry, not the ions, the crystals, you're mostly getting this in the raids. And that's pretty much it. You're not getting many of these basic ISO orbs. That should be on the nodes, actually, in fact. In order to make it better to farm that hard mode, these basic ISO orbs should be there, just like the green ones are on the regular nodes. That's what they need to change. And then finally, we have the Ultra store or the Ultimus store, whatever you want to call it. There is no Teal origin orb that I can buy with this. And honestly, this has been the worst store in the history of the game. These are so far outdated. They never bothered to change this. Frankly, I don't remember how long ago it's been since they've done this. Maybe 2 years ago. For the most part, we just use Ultimus orbs as a Russian roulette to, you know, try and get more shards for unfarmable characters, because when they get added into the premium orb, they get added into the Ultimus orb. So it is what it is. I still hold my credits in the off chance that they might actually do something with this. You can buy purple gear for the cost of 2 orbs. Like, it's not even worth it. Honestly, like, this is horrific. They've never even added orange gear directly into this. This is the most outdated store. I probably could have made a video just specifically on this, because this has been the most neglected store. Maybe the fact that it's like on the end of the scroll bar that everyone just forgot about it. But yeah, it's still there. And I just use it to open Ultimus orbs, usually when I get around to doing an orb opening video, which probably needs to be soon. Honestly, I've just been waiting for Cersei and Icarus to get kicked out. Maybe one day they will and get replaced by Kang and Vol. That's kind of what I'm expecting. But hey, let me know in the comments down below, both about the bottlenecks that you're experiencing. Are they different than the ones that I'm experiencing? I'd love to know that as well, and how you're coping and how you're managing with that. But either way, I hope some of this helped a little bit, just to give you an idea of what I'm doing, what I think players should start thinking about if they haven't already been doing this. Maybe you already have, and maybe you're a step ahead of me. But anyways, this is just my kind of epiphany that I had to start upgrading my characters. So that's the end of this video, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll be having a Black Cat Best Characters tier list on Monday, and of course the event video is coming up on Tuesday as well. So enjoy the rest of the week and the rest of the weekend, and until then, I'll see you there. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.